Welcome to CHA Today, a program that lets you know how the Charlotte Housing Authority and community partners are working together to address Charlotte's affordable housing issue. I'm your host, Jennifer Gallman. Every day, thousands of children go to school with no place to lay their head at night. Thousands more are part of families who are one paycheck away from being in the same situation. Recently, several community leaders participated in a poverty simulation. Here to tell us more about his experience that day and more is CMS Superintendent Dr. Peter Gorman. Dr. Gorman, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Jennifer.
The Walk in Your Shoes poverty simulation. What made you decide to take part in this activity?
We have so many kids in CMS, well over 3,000, who live not only in poverty but are homeless. And I thought that I really need to understand what they're going through as an experience every day. So, how do you go to meet the needs of someone if you don't understand what their life is really like? So I wanted to expand my knowledge base.
So tell me a little bit about what you experienced that day.
Well, first of all, took the bus to get there. And I don't take the bus every day. So the extra time it takes and the fact that I'm so used to walking out of my house, hopping in my car, I know the exact number of minutes it will take me to get there. When you're on a bus, you're not always in control. So first of all, it takes more time. So what it really drove home to me is families have to allot more time for basic tasks we take for granted. Then when I first got to the crisis assistance ministry, the first thing that happened when I walked on the property was I met one of our employees. This is a working individual, has a job with us in CMS, who was there for help. They're facing homelessness. Just really drove home the point too about the fact that there are so many working poor individuals who are trying so very hard that just have some real challenges. So I learned a lot from my very first experiences, not even an hour into the day, and then I continued to learn throughout the rest of the day. Little simple things that I learned, for example, that when you need assistance, there are places that you can go, but when you go to those places as well, you don't know how to traverse that system. It's brand new to you, and there's no skill set that prepares you for that. So it was a good day, and also it was a sad day too for me, just seeing so many people living with challenges.
So the different places you would go, sometimes you'd be required to have different documentation and catching the bus back, or from one system to another, an agency that might be able to provide you help could be an obstacle.
Absolutely, and if you think about that piece, that you show up there, you go looking for help. You don't know what to bring, you don't know what to do. Those are not individuals who necessarily may have the ability, well, I'm going to log on and see what I need to bring to get help. That's not something that's a resource or available to them. So we're talking about multiple trips. So here's the point that drove home for me. So what if we have a family who's struggling greatly financially, and we say, well, why can't they make it to that parent conference? We've set it up for 1:30 in the afternoon. It's conference day. We're ready to do that. Well, wait a minute. 1:30 in the afternoon means that they're going to have to leave their job, go down to the transit station, take a transfer, get to the school, come back to the after the school, come back to the transit station, go back to their job. And then we say, well, I guess they just must not care about their child, that they couldn't make it here for a parent-teacher conference. That's different than where I schedule my day in advance and I block out time and I'm going to race over to our daughter's parent-teacher conference and I'm going to go to the garage where I park in the same spot This is a whole different challenge these individuals are facing. I think we need to realize that the more support and assistance we can provide to help people and to create an environment where they can do the things that they need to do, and just more understanding. That's what I realized I need to have.
Yes, because there's a lot of things that basic transportation, that stress of getting to and from adds on to stresses that are already there. Like you said, a 1:30 conference, needing to leave your job, that could be a stressor because you don't know what type of job an individual has. It might be one where they really need to be there, so it's a pretty big deal, but their kid is important to them and they're doing it.
Absolutely, and one thing, for example, when you're in a salaried position like mine, if I duck out for 15 minutes to go do something, I just do it. But a lot of individuals, that means they're going to punch out of work. They're going to stop being paid for that period of time. And they're not making a whole lot of money in the first place. So now what we're talking about is they're going to lose a quarter of a day's salary to go participate in an event or activity. So that's a challenge. Or what about if a child's sick? Do you think, well, I'll just use a sick day for myself to take care of my child? in many of these cases, it's not a sick day. They're going to stay home and not get paid. So here they're going to incur extra expenses from taking their child to the doctor, and they're not going to have that revenue coming in. There's extra challenges that some folks in our community are dealing with, and just, as I said before, more understanding. It's really driven that point home. Also, another piece that drove home for me was the scope and scale of how large these problems are. How many people are one check away from homelessness, one illness in their family, or losing a job, or if it's a catastrophic failure of an automobile, what that does for them, or say there's an emergency in their home, flooding or something, and they lose things. They just don't have those dollars to replace it. So we're blessed to have some of the services we have in the town.
I noticed recently a story in the Observer where there's a young lady who has participated in some programs in the community, and she even mentioned she has 2 vehicles in case one breaks down so that she can ensure that she gets to her job. Yeah. Obviously, some point in her struggle, transportation was a major issue for her not succeeding. So she's even somehow doubled up based on savings, or maybe she got a great deal and actually has 2 vehicles in case one breaks down that she can get to work.
And think about that. What would drive her to do that? Now, we'd all like to think, 2 cars, wouldn't that be great? I've got the car I drive on the weekend, the convertible. That's not what this case is talking about. This is just for basic necessities. Then you also look at some other things, for example, about going shopping. Take it for granted. Hop in my car, go shopping. Don't have to think, okay, now where's the closest bus stop? How far can I carry these things? How much can I buy at one time? How far do I have to carry that? Oh, well, I'm going to go to one of the wholesale stores that sells in bulk, because that will be easy. Well, going in bulk, you're going to carry, 20 rolls of paper towels. You can't do that. There's challenges come, and more understanding is needed.
And even when you look at shopping, quantity, but you also have to look at what's available within the area that they live in. It would be nice to save some money, but is a store close enough to my home to get the best deal on some of these supplies? A lot of families who are living on limited income even struggle to buy the basic school supplies for their children to start the first day of school.
And I think about a story that was in the paper a while ago talking about the fact of access to fresh fruit and vegetables close to their home. And is that available? What types of food? I take for granted. I'm going to drive just a quarter of a mile, maybe 3/8 of a mile to the nearest grocery store, and I'm going to get any fresh fruit or vegetable I need. Keep my daughter healthy, have her active and involved, and that's just not the easy access every family has.
Now, were there any other surprises during your poverty simulation in the middle of summer?
Well, I tell you, one that surprised me was to see in some of the environments that some of the individuals are living. Some do live in shelters, but there are some that are camping and living outdoors. And in some of the cases, the discussions we had was that some of the individuals are just in such tight grips of addiction that rather than coming indoors, they would rather stay outdoors and choose to be outdoors because addiction has such a hold on them. Now think about that, to not have a roof over your head on a nightly basis, to be subject to the weather, to be subject to the potential to have someone else come and take your things or whatever it might be. Just really didn't understand how many individuals were living that type of challenged life.
Based on knowing that there are over 3,000 children in the community who are homeless, living on the streets, maybe in a shelter, how important do you think it is for the entire community, government agency, nonprofits, neighbors, to come together to really work on ending this issue for these children?
The first thing that I would say is it's very clear to me that it is not a single shot issue. This is not that the school system's going to solve it. It's not that the city government or county government's going to solve it. And it's not our philanthropic groups or our wonderful community agencies. We are so lucky to have a Child's Place in our community and the great work that they do. But that alone doesn't do it. We've got to team up and do that. We've got to make sure that we've got programs to train in job skills, that we provide the medical support that individuals need, that we provide access to transportation, that we provide access to food and meals, that we provide after-school care, that we provide a great education during the day, there's just so much that's all got to fit together that we take for granted because it just works in our household, so that magically happens. Well, when that doesn't magically happen, it's the kids that suffer the most. So we've got to work in a consolidated way, cohesive way.
Dr. Gorman, there's so much more that I want to ask you. We need to pause for a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk some more about this important issue of education, especially for children who are living in poverty.
Great.
We're going to pause for a quick break, but if you'd like more information about A Child's Place, you can log on to their website, www.childsplace.org. Back in a moment.